industrial customers in Nigeria. Arnergy enables SMEs and economic clusters to run sustainably by providing reliable and affordable constant electricity with rooftop solar solutions. Beforehand, Femi executed a nationwide rollout for 4 mobile telecommunications access networks. He was a single point of contact on the rollout and manage service operations in highway and Nokia and so on. And he's particularly skilled at operating excellence, deploying high availability and reliability for operations ranging from solar energy to telecommunications. His work has been featured on BBC, Bloomberg, CNBC, Quartz, Yahoo Finance, Channels TV, and now Business Day. So Femi, welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, everyone. From Lagos.
So how are you doing in this time, in this COVID-19 time?
Yeah, I mean, I can.
Hello, Femi.
The crisis coming. Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Yes. I said, I mean, no one saw COVID-19 crisis coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it is what it is, and it's now left to us as entrepreneurs to be able to navigate our ways out of the crisis, right? And it's been proven by scientists that it's not a virus that will go away anytime soon. That's, I mean, we need to retool and then being able to run our businesses with the virus with us. So, I mean, that's what we've been doing. Of course, prior to the lockdown in the country, we had a crisis management plan put together by a committee in the organization to see how can we edge as much as possible. I mean, I can tell you that no company can edge completely. Of course, I mean, we've seen a few companies, a few work from home tech company, like of course the Zoom that we're leveraging with this meeting going up, but on a larger percentage, it has affected a lot of companies. But what we've done is, as a company, to see, I mean, as you've introduced us, we played largely by deploying distributed energy system to SMEs. So we've seen a couple of our SME clients that are not able to operate in times like this. So had to retool really. And we've been very active deploying our solutions to healthcare facilities, healthcare infrastructure that are the front line of combating and curtailing the virus. So that's what we've been doing largely.
Okay, so I see that you have a very, thank you for that background on your company. You have a very interesting background. So the way that we'll go about the show may or may not lead journey and the lessons that you have learned along the way. So Femi, so I see that you have a very interesting background right now. So is your company now working from home? Are you working remotely?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So I can tell that 95% of our workforce work from home. Like I mentioned, we had a crisis management plan, which that enables us to still be able to deploy our system. So most of our components are imported, but we have about 20% local content, which means that we still need to assemble the systems. I mean, the technology that enables us to provide remote monitoring and payments on a pay-as-you-go, we deploy all of that locally. So the 5% of our workforce that are still working from the office are able to, I mean, those are the team, the back office team that is supporting us to still be able to deploy services. I mean, throughout April, we deploy to not less than 8 healthcare facilities, from isolation centers to testing centers to pharmacy outlets, even though the country was on lockdown. So yes, largely we're working from home, but a percentage of our workforce, we count them in the office 24 hours. I mean, of course, safety is very critical to us. That's priority number one. But we've not done so completely because we know that we deploy and provide essential services to businesses, and we've been very, very active with the healthcare sectors. You probably might have seen in the news the first mobile COVID-19 test center. We partnered with 54 Gene and we deployed that. I mean, we were working completely from home. We would not have been able to deploy that because people still need to physically deploy systems across the country.
So tell us a bit about how your company deploys solar energy to SMEs. Tell us a bit about that process.
Okay, all right. So prior to us raising, Series A capital last year, we've been deployed straight to customers on a direct sales model, which is outright. But we know that with the energy disparity that we have in Nigeria, we are not going to be able to scale if we are not innovative and are able to provide customers on an affordable payment plan. So we have two new payment plans on the back of the $9 million that we raised last year, which now enable us to either deploy the solar asset on customers' roof and they only pay us on a monthly basis. So that we call it energy as a service. It's largely energy subscription. The customers don't get to own the assets, so they are edged against if hardware is faulty, battery gets bad. That's none of our customers' business on the energy as a service business model, because they only pay for the service on a monthly basis. And with that, we're able to guarantee customers up to 20% savings on what their current expense is on diesel. So that we deploy to SMEs. I mean, we don't do that for business, for residential at the moment. So that's on the energy as a service model. And the other model, it's similar to it, but we know that based on our culture, there is that interest from some customers to own the assets. So we provide a model where they don't have to pay outrightly from the first day. It's more or less like a loan. So we give loan to the customers to be able to pay on a monthly basis over 36 months, and then they own the asset. So those are the two different models that we have deployed to SMEs to be able to energize the economy. SMEs, they say, is the bedrock of the economy, and we are going all out to be able to empower them to save. It's proven that SMEs and businesses spend up to 40% of their OPEX on energy. So us coming in and then providing them an affordable and reliable model to be able to run their businesses sustainably, we think that will help them, and that's what we're doing. And the smallest system we have is we call it Arnergy 5000. So, and it's a modularized system. So if a business needs a 30 kVA, or if they're running on a 30 kVA generator, we've seen that most times, I mean, they're not even efficient. They might not need up to that. So it's a 5 kVA modularized system, and we've seen customers that they start with maybe 2 units at 10 kVA, and when they have seen savings, they come back to get more systems.
Thank you so much for that background. I mean, you made a very good point. You know, SMEs tend to spend 40% of their revenues on energy, which is quite, outstanding. So tell us a bit about what made you come up with the company from the beginning. So you saw a problem and you decided to solve it. So tell us a bit about how you came about to, seeing a problem, seeing that there's, a lack of constant electricity and for a lot of businesses and a lot of households at the same time. So how did the Arnergy company come together?
Okay, very good question. So I will take you back to the memory lane. So, I mean, right after university, I started my professional career with a multinational. It's a Chinese mobile vendor. Without mentioning their name, because they've not paid you for any adverts. So getting into working with them early 2000 when mobile telco was just about to ramp up. I realized that I got to a point that I was heading the national rollout project for MTN. And I realized that for every site that MTN deployed then, and of course, I mean, every other telco company, they had two generators, right? So this was early 2000. And 2 years after, I had the opportunity to, I mean, I moved outside the country and I began to see innovation play out in Europe, in South America. And then by the end of the last decade, 2009 to be precise, I moved to the Middle East. I mean, of course, consulting for telco operators. So it was while I was in the Middle East that I realized that for some of the locations, for some of the cell sites for this telco operator, that were in hard to reach location. Hard to reach means that it was, I mean, nowhere on top of the desert. So, of course, grid could not reach there because it was hard to reach. And generators was not an option because for you to even maintain, you had to hire a helicopter to reach those locations. So necessity became mother of invention for them. And I realized that they were deploying solar. So this was, I mean, as at 2011. And I look at the record, I saw that some of those sites have been in operation for more than 10 years. So I asked myself if companies like that could deploy solar and it has proven for almost 10 years that it is effective. Why were we not in my country deploying solar to power these businesses? And they were relying on two generators. So that was where the aha moment came for me. And then I began to look at what we could do in Nigeria. And I realized then that, I mean, not so many organized, structured companies were in Nigeria targeting deploying solar to SMEs and even residences. And of course, so that was why, I mean, by the end of 2013, I had to quit my very lucrative job, I could say. I mean, work started 7:30 in the morning. By 3:30, I mean, work was over and I could relax in the beach in the evening. But hey, yeah, I had a good life, but I bet that that was not enough for me. I mean, I got to a time I wasn't finding fulfillment and saying that, I mean, we had huge problem in Nigeria. I mean, electricity is arguably the most, I mean, maybe electricity and healthcare. Those are the biggest issues, critical challenges that we have in Nigeria. So that was why I took that plunge and moved back with my family in 2013, July, to set up Arnergy. And we started operation in 2014. And I mean, from the first day, I knew that we needed to raise capital to be able to provide affordable and reliable systems for Nigerians. Of course, initially we started to, because we needed to prove, in 2014, providing solar to SMEs and residencies 5 kilowatt and above was not sexy. It was likely small system impacts in the rural, just powering lighting. But from the onset, I knew that what we need to do to be able to energize and do something meaningful. I mean, and that's not taking anything away from the players that are targeting rural communities. But I know that SME being the bedrock, that's where we could generate a lot of new jobs and help even reduce our employment rate and energize the economy. So that's the story. And of course, I came back, started residential. It actually started where in the estate where I used to live in Lagos, where residents in a residents meeting, people were complaining of electricity, and I asked, why are you people not using solar? And everyone laughed at solar, that thing that doesn't work. So that's
a great, that's a great point that you make. That thing that doesn't work. So let's talk about that. A lot of people, when they think of solar, they don't necessarily feel like it will work. They think it's complicated. So can you shed light about, how people can actually use solar for their businesses and actually save money?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think so. So looking at that thing that doesn't work. So 2013 Q4, it was likely on focus and even like, I mean, to a larger extent, 2014, is interviewing customers to see what do they really think about solar, right? And this was a period where even very senior officers at the Ministry of Power didn't believe that solar worked too. So we had a huge challenge ahead of us. And we identified three myths really that we need to demystify for us to really be able to scale. And that's number one, that thing that doesn't work. So solar that doesn't work because solar street lights are, I mean, around everywhere and they do not work. So the second is it's expensive, right? So and so I mean I will speak more on those two for now. So the fact that it doesn't work, it's part of why we looked at a model where customers do not even have to buy the assets, right? Because if they do not buy the asset, if they are paying on a monthly basis based on, I mean, if the system does not work, they will not pay anyway. So that acquisition model was to demystify that it doesn't work. And able to show customers that you only need to pay us on a monthly basis, and we can show us what you've spent over the last 6 to 12 months on a monthly basis on diesel. And we can show you that we can save you 15% if you are paying on a monthly basis, right? And of course, on the longevity, yeah, maybe batteries, because likely before solar, a lot of businesses and even high networks made income, and Nigerians have deployed inverters and maybe batteries are packed up in 12 months, and they're like, the problem is always, excuse me, battery. So what we did is, of course, for every of our customers since 2018, we have deployed lithium, very high quality lithium ion battery. So even for customers that are buying outrightly, they get 5 years warranty on our battery system because it's high quality and it can last longer than 10 years, right? So all those myths that we had in 2014, we took a step back, took all of that, I mean, with research and focus studies that we did, and we were able to tailor our business models to be able to provide answers to those. So that's how businesses are adopting our systems now. The ones that want to buy outrightly because they have the cash, I mean, they should be our guests. But likely when our sales team pitching to customers, most customers do not even know what the outright cost is. It's really on pay us on a monthly basis, and for those that want to own over a period of time, they are able to pay over 36 months. And like I've mentioned, we designed the system to be sexy. Apart from solar panels on the roof, the only other thing you see is a box, nicely designed box with good aesthetics, and I mean with indications of how much you're consuming. And of course, we are able to design and develop monitoring system that is able to provide customers. See, customers can see. Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, Femi, you broke out there for a while.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. So do you want to just maybe go back to what you were saying, because I didn't hear the last bit.
Okay, so I said that the lease to own, which is providing loan to customers, and they're able to spread that over 36 months, and thereafter they own the system. So that provides, that makes it affordable for customers, for SMEs, and even the SMEs that do not care, that just want us to become their power provider, they are able to acquire this system and they pay us based on a 10-year renewable contract. So they are hedged against the inefficiency of any product. And of course, as a company, we know that we are providing the system on a 10-year renewable plan, it's then the risk is on us to ensure that the quality of the system that we provide lasts as long as a payback period, which I can tell you a payback period it's longer, right? And what we are trying to do is to ensure that Nigerians are able to run businesses and then help in the long run to reduce the unemployment rate, which is a ticking time bomb in this country.
I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, not only are you, providing solar energy, which is, a better kind of way to use electricity and to use appliances and things of that sort, but you're also you're also kind of giving SMEs an opportunity to finance this energy part of their business, which is fantastic. I saw that you have about 2,000 paying customers. What are your plans to, in Nigeria, there's a power issue. As much as it's Nigeria is the eagle of Africa, or it's kind of the country that people look to when it comes to innovations on the continent. Shockingly, a lot of households and SMEs are still running on generators and things of that sort. So how do we get the 2,000 paying customers that you have to scale? How do we get that number to be slightly bigger, so that more Nigerians have access to this kind of energy? I know that you focus mainly on SMEs and businesses, but would you consider maybe having this for households as well?
A very good question there. So I can tell you the lease-to-own model that I mentioned, which allows customers to pay over 36 months. We're deploying that for residential customers too. And what we've seen is with this new normal of WFH, working from home, we've seen that managers and above that work from home that needs uninterrupted power, they are opting in on a lease-to-own model now. And they're they're leveraging that to be able to work effectively from home. So to your question, yes, we supply a system for residential customers too. And we do have an ambitious plan to deploy 20,000 systems by the end of 2023. So we are, I think the pandemic has slowed us down a bit, because even though we have permits to work, because we deploy essential services, now we're seeing some residential customers that are a bit apprehensive, and they're saying, okay, we'll wait till after the lockdown. But since the lockdown will be over next week, of course, we know the virus is still around. We, as a company, safety protection is our first priority. So we're sending newsletters, educating customers, and we've had our engineers, installation partners deploying solar even at the isolation centers in Lagos, in Kaduna. So we are ensuring that safety is priority. But yeah, going back to your question, we deploy services to residential customers, and they don't have to pay outright. We're offering loans, and we have tried to bring on even the commercial banks. A few of them have shown interest. It's early days, but we believe that we know we can't do it alone, right? We cannot do it alone. 20,000. It might sound small, but we're still about just 10% of that. And we have 3 years, 36 months to do that. So beyond financial partners, beyond the commercial banks, we are also now rolling out a nationwide channel partnership. We've onboarded a vice president that is largely focusing on distribution, because what we've seen is every players, every sector that has scaled in Nigeria, from the FMC to telco to pay TV, it's largely a partnership through distribution, right? So we have that structure already ongoing with very juicy upside for our partners. And that's one of the areas that we've seen that will help us to scale across the country. And it's like the partnering with the commercial institutions and the channel partners that have experience with be it FMCG, telco, or pay TV.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I know it's been good to kind of learn about your journey so far as, with your company. Now I'd like us to focus a bit more about, the COVID-19 crisis that is upon us. You mentioned that your company is deploying energy to some hospitals in Kaduna and other states. Can you tell us a bit about how you're innovating through this crisis and how Arnergy is responding to the crisis?
Okay, very good. So what we started with is we knew that definitely the isolation centers and the testing centers, we knew we needed to support them. So while we were putting our crisis management together, we looked at how best can we do this. We're still a startup, so we can't deploy those assets as free donation, right? So we then came together and we were able to innovate to see how we can onboard customers using our energy as a service model, which is just paying on a monthly basis. And then on the back of that, post-COVID-19, we believe that maybe in the next 3 months, all of this will probably even out. So we were then able to say how many businesses can we, healthcare businesses now, can we provide maybe up to 3 months free of energy if they are then able to commercialize that after the 3 months. And while we were at the peak of that, we had one of our investors, which is Olon, which Olon is a good friend to Business Day, so I know you know Olon. So Olon was able to come in and for a few of those locations, which is the IDH in Lagos, the Kaduna centers and NIMA, which is the Nigeria Institute of Medical Research in Lagos, Olon was able to support us to be able to, provide grants that will power those 3 locations. In the case of Landmark, you probably have seen the videos and pictures on the internet. So with Landmark, Olon was able to support us with 3 months free energy grant to support that, and then Landmark, being a commercial entity, will switch that to any of our list one or outright sales thereafter. With 54 Jane, which is the first mobile COVID-19 mobile testing facility in the country, we were able to extend again, free 3 months energy as a service, but post that, they are commercializing that. And I can tell you that there are more locations, mobile clinic, mobile testing center, I beg your pardon, that are coming up. And you will see pictures and videos of that very soon. So Lagos State government, through the Ministry of Energy, we're having conversation with them with a similar model. And there are other states in, I need to mention Kaduna. The isolation center in Kaduna, prior to even the rolling out of the COVID-19 scheme, we had deployed one of our units, the 5,000 units at the isolation center in Kaduna, even prior to when Kaduna recorded the first patient. And on the back of the All-On grant, we were able to provide them one more. So, so we are open to partnering with other state governments, really, to ensure that they are able to not only scale testing, but to provide clean, and match that word, clean energy. Because COVID-19 being a respiratory disease, diesel generators should not even be close to those locations, because that could cause complications. And that's why we are doing all we can to ensure that as much isolation center as possible, we're able to provide our systems using our innovative model.
Absolutely. You make a great point, especially with the dire, health crisis that we're experiencing. A lot of hospitals, isolation centers that typically run on diesel and generators and things of that sort might want to consider a solar alternative, especially given the health repercussions of this. That's very, very interesting. So do you have any plans to go outside of Kaduna and Lagos State? Would you consider doing this on a larger scale in Nigeria and also maybe Africa-wide at some point?
Very good question. So I can tell you that we're having conversation with two other states in the Southwest at the moment. I mean, it's we're just waiting for them. And like I mentioned at the earlier stages, earlier stage of the interview, we had capped 5% of our assembly team to ensure that assembly continues. So we have enough inventory to roll out to other states of the country if they're ready to deploy reliable and affordable clean energy in those locations. So we will continue to engage. We're open to every other state in the country. I can tell you that in the next few days, um, another center in Kano will be live, right? So our guys, I mean, our engineers are all over the country, and we are ready to deploy. And to your question of deploying outside Nigeria, um, they said charity begin at home, so that's why we've not really. I mean, I can tell you that we've had tremendous interest from several countries outside Nigeria. Anytime we have interviews, I'm sure we will have people and at this session. But anytime we had requests from neighboring countries and even Central Southern American countries, we still intend to be in Nigeria till the end of this year. Maybe by 2021, we could begin to see, and that will still in the initial days be on the back of a partnership that I had mentioned initially. But we believe that there is a huge problem in the country, and we want to focus for now to having a huge market share, huge penetration in Nigeria, and thereafter we will deploy to other African countries. But I can tell you that the way we have designed our system, it's ready to go in another country tomorrow. I mean, cloud-based real-time monitoring system is on the cloud, right? So we could deploy not only in Africa, and I mean, we could deploy our systems all over the world. Really.
Well, we look forward to seeing that for sure. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about, leadership during crisis. As the CEO of Arnergy, how have you had to lead in this COVID-19 coronavirus epidemic? What are some of the ways that you've had to, communicate with your staff? What are some of the ways that you've had to lead during this crisis?
Okay, yeah. So yeah, because of the crisis, I have had to communicate more than I would have done, or I had done. I mean, prior to the crisis. Um, Prior to even the first lockdown order, uh, as a company, I think when the number of cases got to 8 cases, a town hall meeting was set up. I mean, was set up just like 2 hours after the announcement, and then we decided as a company first to ensure that every of our employees that commute to work using public transport should switch to remote work immediately, because we knew that that is one avenue that will get community infection on the rise. So we stopped that, and then of course, because we're a clean technology company. So, I mean, we have an ERP solution that, I mean, we didn't start using Zoom because of the crisis. We had always used Zoom. So Monday morning meetings, town hall sessions, all of that easily moved to internal ERP communication mode. And when we need to use Zoom, we had always used Zoom. So we had to over communicate. I mean, as a leader, now, of course, we've had town hall sessions. We've had to bring in third-party medical practitioners that are specialists in mental health to speak to our people to ensure that, I mean, during this crisis, um, I mean, any issues that relates to that could lead to mental health are properly managed by our people. We've had to let our people know. Um, I mean, given open room really. So we've had like two CEO town hall sessions where our employees could ask any questions, and you bet there were questions around are there going to be mass layoff and all of that, and I had to let our people know that we're not going to have anything close to what you've seen in the US. And of course, communication, even with, we are a board-run organization. We have four institutional investors. Apart from Holland, that is quasi-local, every of three other investors are foreign. So of course, communication even with the investors to let the investors know where we are. But of course, with the employee, I had to reiterate and let our people know that we're not going to be anything close to what is happening in America. US companies could lay off because US has, the safety nets, where there are instances where even if employee get fired, the paycheck that they would get from the government might be more than their monthly payroll, right? So open forum. We've had to do that so that every of our employee knows where we are as a company. And of course, as a leader, there has been a lot of runway planning, runway metrics, looking at what's the worst case scenario on our OPEX is and how much runway we have as a company to ensure that post COVID-19 we will still be standing as an organization, and especially a critical employee will still have their paycheck at the end of the month.
And how would you say that the overall energy industry has been affected by COVID-19?
So energy, it depends. If you want to add oil and gas to energy, I think with the oil and gas.
Oil and gas, and then the solar energy. Let's talk about the industry at large.
Okay.
How would you?
Of course, it's it's no news that the oil and gas sectors have been badly hit. By the COVID-19 with supply overshadowing demand. Demand is at all-time low, really. So that has affected the oil and gas player. But I can tell that we've now seen even some oil and gas, huge big players in oil and gas that will probably not look at renewables, that are sending us unsolicited messages now asking that, hey, are you guys raising money? So I think for renewables, even though there might be argument that for Nigeria at a time like this, petrol price uh, has been reviewed downward. There might be argument that maybe that might affect the adoption of solar energy, but I beg to differ, right? Because diesel is still what it is, and that's what the majority of the larger SMEs and commercial and industrial businesses are relying on. So I think beyond the effect of our customers not being able to operate their businesses at the moment, which of course means that their revenue has been affected. I think post COVID-19, we are seeing, I believe that we will see better adoption, because at the moment, in times like this, when people are not able to even go out, so businesses that are not having to rely on diesel or PV infrastructure, solar infrastructure on their roof, that means it's a better energy source. It is more resilient compared to other sources that you need to give it fuel to power it on a daily basis. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. It does absolutely. And right before we go into the next, hello, Femi, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. All right, no, that makes sense. Definitely. So do you ever think that we'll get to a place where Nigeria is, let's say, 70% powered by solar energy?
Very, very good point. I'm sure you can see my background.
Yes, I can. So that's I'm looking at all the solar panels that you have at the back. So that's why I asked that question.
Yeah. So that's a picture of a location in Lekki Phase 1 in Lagos.
Okay.
Um, I mean, I don't know how sharp it is, but prior to prior to what you can see at the center, which is the office of a partner, that's 54 Jane office really. So we have about 63 kilowatts that we deploy powering 54 Jane on a 20, I mean, close to 24 hours basis. I mean between 20 to 24 hours. That's what I mean. That system is supplying them. But I can tell you can see other systems, other roofs that have solar solutions. I mean across them. So I can tell that the one on 54, that's the only one that we deployed. Every other one, I mean, they've been deployed before we got into that location. So that gives you it gives a picture of where we are. Of course, we are not at 70%. We're not even at 10% at the moment. But what I can tell is we are seeing adoption going higher. I wish that we have better government support, really, because if I was using a slide, I would have shown a picture of, or maybe 2 or 3 pictures of locations in Australia, in US, and maybe in Germany, where you will see every roof that you could see will be solar panel cladding everywhere, right? But all of those happened with some sort of government support. So today there is subsidy on petrol, even diesel. There is some sort of subsidy that you like it or not. But we're still in a space or a stage in the country where we still have to, I mean, customers still need to pay VAT 7.5% now on solar. There is little or no capital allowance that is crystal clear to allow adoption. Import duty, I mean, when we're bringing in components, is still there. So I think that I will be lying if I say that we will reach 70% with what we still have as a country. Of course, we're seeing private sector involvement is on the rise. We're seeing private equity players, I mean, venture capitals that have invested in us, and maybe I can count at least 3 other players, 3 other companies that have received foreign investment. But we need much more than that for us to reach 70%. We need government to be able to come to the table and say, hey, for every Nigerian, if you adopt solar, you don't need to pay 7.5% VAT, it is 0. And I can tell you that we have neighboring African countries that are already doing that. We have neighboring African countries that when you import renewable energies components, it is on fast track at the ports, and you don't need
So giving
to go
people
through.
incentive to adopt solar, you would say would be a way
Exactly.
to
So we need such incentives for us to get to 70%. To private sector alone, maybe we can get to 30%, maybe 40%, but to get to 70% without government intervention in form of incentives, I think we need another decade if we're looking at 70% without any incentive from the government.
Okay. So we have a few questions from the audience, but before we take questions, I'd like to ask you, in the beginning of our conversation, we talked about your entrepreneurship journey, how you were working in the Middle East first, and then you moved back to Nigeria to start Arnergy. So can you maybe talk to us about some of the lessons that you've learned along the way before we go into questions from the audience?
Oh, lessons along the way. I think having a good team, a good product, and a large enough market is critical, right? And game and being able to prove, I think all those had helped us largely. We were able to, the first outside capital that we were able to raise is through the Bank of Industry, and that was debt. But Bank of Industry was not, they were not going to invest or provide us debt capital if they didn't say that we've had some skin in the game and we've been able to prove that this could work. So I think those are the company and as the founder myself. And one other thing that I would love to mention is over and over again, I have learned and I continue to learn that it is very important to be resilient in this country, because I mean there will be times that the chips will be down, but it is the perseverance and that resilient nature that has kept us going. And I think when we raised Series A, because of the stellar nature of our investors, I had a lot of people asking questions. So Femi, how did Arnergy do it? How were we able to bring in the government of Norway? That's the Norwegian Fund for Developing Countries. How were we able to get the Electrify, which is the fund that put together by the 16 European Union government? How were we able to get Breakthrough Energy Ventures, which was couple of, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so how were we able to get Breakthrough Energy Ventures, which is a fund put together by Bill Gates and with a few other world billionaires as limited partners, and of course, Olon. And one of the reasons why we've been able to do that is, number one, having product market fit. And I think frugality is important, right? We've been a very frugal company. We're not flamboyant. And we know that I think that's one of the success story that has helped us this far.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that advice. It's been interesting speaking to you, Femi, and I know that a lot of our audience members we have a lot of questions here. So I think we should probably get into that before the end.
All right.
So Ekweme Anyadibe says, Arnergy is a power service provider, thus uses imported parts. When do you plan to start local production of parts, taking into consideration you have solved the power issue? Kindly name some of the local produced parts that you use.
Okay.
If any.
So when, so the question is, what are we doing? I believe that's the question. Is that correct?
The question is, kindly name some of the locally produced parts that you use.
Okay, so number one is the cabinets. So if you've seen an 85,000 box, the cabinets that house all the components in that system is manufactured locally in Lagos. The communication module that allows us to be able to monitor systems like 54G to see what the system is consuming on a real time, that was developed by our local team, and that's 90% of that is done. The design of that is done locally. At scale, we hope that we can bring manufacturing down back to Nigeria. But all the prototyping and all of that, we do that locally in Lagos. Software that enables us to be able to deploy those two models that I mentioned on the finance base, which is the lease to own that allows customers to pay over 36 months, and the energy subscription, which is over 10 years. The software that allows that to happen were developed locally by our engineers, all less than 30 years old engineers. So those are what we are doing as part of our local component. So normally when we're deploying solutions, we use a lot of steel. So the solar rack, before the solar panels go on the roof, all those are manufactured locally.
Fantastic.
And we continue to look for opportunities to bring back every of the manufacturing that we can do locally. But I can tell that some of them are still not even competitive for manufacturers locally, and the enabling environment is not there. I read recently that the government through the CBN is looking at extending up to 500 billion naira to light manufacturing and renewable energy as part of the palliative in the short term, as part of the COVID-19 palliative. We are watching what will happen in that, and if we see that there will be an enabling environment, we will still be able to provide assistance if you manufacture locally. We will review that. But I can tell you that as much as possible, anything that we can do locally, we are doing it.
Fantastic. The next question that we have is from Lucky Man One. He says, have you deployed solar energy to schools, so to education?
Okay. Very good question. So, so at the moment, based on our deployment to SMEs, we actually have what we call target verticals. So healthcare is on top of our list, and that's followed by education. And then we have hospitality before the larger SMEs. So we, as far back as 2014, we deployed to Green Spring schools. I mean, some parts of Green Springs where they are able to, power critical appliances, projector, to some school, to some of the classes. We recently powered a school in Lagos off Admiralty. So yes, to cut the long story short, education is one of the target verticals that we have. It's one of our priorities. And we have a lot of schools really that we've deployed to.
Fantastic. So we have a question here from Duru Chidi, who says, do you provide solar to hotels, and do we have a reference for your product? So I guess that's for the hospitality industry.
Yeah, exactly. So the hospitality industry, we had, a crew from BBC sometime last year, and they visited one of our hospitality customers. In fact, the first hospitality client on our energy as a service model. So the client, the first location they signed up, I'm sure the first location is more than 2 years now. It's an hotel at the heart of Lagos, Obalende to be precise. So 4 months into the first location, they realized that we've been able to save them. I think the managers put it at maybe 600% savings. And this is on video, BBC video really. So after 4 months, they came back to us to opt in on 2 of their other locations that the hotel chains own. So we have, as a matter of fact, we have one of our sales managers that is focused on that sector, the hospitality sector, and we're very strong on the hospitality sector.
Perfect. So we have another question from Kweme, and he's asking, do you execute solar energy services for large villas located in a rural village setting? So we've talked about how you have services for the urban areas, cities, and things of that sort. But can you replicate this in rural village settings?
Very good question. So as a matter of fact, we have done rural. So in 2015, we partnered with Bank of Industry to deploy. So Bank of Industry puts out a request for proposal to deploy pilot systems in one rural community each in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. So we were one of 2 companies that was selected, and we deployed rural systems in Osun, representing Southwest, in Edo representing the South, and in Kaduna, that should be Northwest, I believe. Right. So yes, we have done these in rural communities, but but scaling, what we realize is we can't be jack of all trade and we can't be everywhere. So now we are relying more on partners to deploy in rural communities. The way we have deployed, we see ourselves more because we put a lot of resources into research and development of the Arnergy 5000 poster product, which is mini grid ready and it can be deployed in any rural location, be it mini grid and be it hospital. So we have opened up our systems now to other partners that are better resourced to deploy in rural communities. We are focusing more on the urban SMEs, residential, but when we have customers that have requests in rural communities, we partner with GE Healthcare, and Shell to deploy a solar-powered hospital in Oloibiri, the town where Nigeria discovered oil. And we deployed 8 of our Energy 5000 units to power the Kolo community hospitals in, it's in a town that is completely off-grid. They are not on the central grid. So we powered that. Recently, there is another location again in Bielsa. It's an healthcare infrastructure to completely off-grid location. So yes, we work with partner to do more now in the rural communities because we know we can't be everywhere and still be effective.
Thank you very much for that answer. There's a bunch of questions here, so I'm going to just try and go through them and see if there's any replicas. So we have another question from Duru Chidi who says, can your solar proposition go up to 100 kVA power provision? How do you engage with a potential customer? As I see your payment model as a winner.
Okay, very good question. So can our system goes beyond 100 kVA? The one that you're seeing on the screen, it's 60, and it could go beyond 100. As a matter of fact, back to one of the questions around education. So we have a 120 kVA system in Owerri. Maybe I should have had that picture on the background, really. And that powers 150 student hostel room with a gym, with a restaurant, with a laundry. So it's mixed use student hostel and other facilities that enable students to work effectively and work and study effectively. And it's situated between the Federal Polytechnic Nekede and the Federal University of Technology Owerri and Nekede in Imo State. So yes, our systems can go beyond 100 kVA. We try to stay within less than 1 megawatts, but yes, and to the question of how can potential customers engage us, they can go on our website, www.arnergy.com, and Arnergy is spelled Arnergy. So it's just replacing the E in energy with AR, and AR stands for alternative renewable. So that's, and of course, they can reach out to us on Twitter at Arnergy and even on LinkedIn at Arnergy Solar.
Perfect. I just want to type it so people can see the.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, so we have another question. With deployment of solar, is it possible for your client to access the carbon credit?
Very, very, very good question. So again, carbon credits, it's something that we're reviewing. But beyond carbon credits, really, because we know that a larger percentage of customers do not understand carbon credits, we are looking at what can be immediate savings. And that's why I mentioned initially, if the customers today can get 7.5% VAT out, that is a good incentive for customers to opt in immediately. Capital allowance. Can we deploy solar? Can we have an incentive from the government that can allow us to speak to corporates with the work from home new normal can we speak to corporates, and then can organizations like Business Day, like Endeavor, and every other corporates, can they procure the system from us and then be able to write that down as capital allowances? Those are what we believe will be immediate win for customers rather than long-term carbon credits. We're reviewing carbon credits, but I can tell that in the immediate, we're not looking at adopting that in 2020. But we will prefer if from the first date we can reduce the capex to the customer. Carbon credits, it's something that we're thinking on in the long term.
Okay. Okay, so we have a bunch of questions from people here asking how they can engage with your company to deploy some of the services in schools around Lagos. So I think he already answered that. So if you can go to www.arnergy.com, right? That's the URL.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I should add to that. So I had mentioned how we are looking at partnering with financial institutions and channel partners that have done distribution, either FMCG, pay TV, telco before. But to add to that, we have a scheme that we call Solar Angel. And Solar Angel, I mean, we all know what angels do. They bring good tidings. And we know that there are a lot of Nigerians that do not know about that company at the moment. So we have that Solar Angel scheme that allows any Nigerian to be able to, of course, credible Nigerians, right? Because we will request for some documentation to ensure, and they will go through training to ensure that they are able to tell the customers, pass the right message across. So the Solar Angels are able to work with our sales team, our commercial team, to then sell our solutions to be it hospitality sector, education, healthcare, or what have you. And then they get good incentive. They are well compensated for spreading the news to the large population.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So it seems like we've come to the end of our time. But I wanted to find out if you have anything that you'd like to say, any last words that you'd like to pass on. It can be about COVID, it can be about the energy sector, anything that you'd like to share with our audience before we have to end the call.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very, very passionate about Nigeria, right? And that's part of why I moved back to Nigeria. I mean, but one thing is, we cannot, as a company, as a founder, I cannot do it alone. As a company, we cannot do it alone. So I will encourage Nigerians to support us as a company, because I think we've set up a different avenue, be it the Solar Angel, be it being a channel partners, or even the commercial, the financial institutions supporting to take this product to everywhere in Nigeria. Nigerians need it. We've seen good testimonial from the people that have used it. So we need the news to spread out. And beyond just our company, when Nigerians, we have huge challenges across infrastructure in Nigeria. We can't leave it to the government alone. So when we see organizations or funders that are trying to contribute their parts to help bridge the gap, be it infrastructure or technology gap that we'll have, I will encourage the audience to rally around them and support them to help us scale innovative technologies that can help everyone at the end of the day. For COVID-19, my message will be for everyone to stay safe. It is real, and we need to stay safe. We already know that it's a virus that come to stay, at least in the short to even a mid-term. So everyone needs to follow the guidelines that the medical practitioners have given. Let's follow that and maximize as much as possible how we can get back to the new normal, because it has come to stay.
That's definitely, those are some good parting words. Femi Adeyemo, it's been a pleasure talking to you, CEO of Arnergy. Thank you so much for spending this hour with us, talking to us about your entrepreneurship journey, how your company is reacting to this crisis, and everything in between. So for the audience members, thank you for tuning in to another edition of Scaling Through Crisis, which is brought to you by Business Day Media in partnership with Endeavor. My name is Lehl Balde, and I look forward to seeing you all next Monday at 2 p.m. for another episode of Scaling Through Crisis. So again, Femi Adeyemo, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And we look forward to staying in touch and finding out what's wonderful things that you do at Arnergy. So for everybody, you can follow Arnergy. It's at ARNERGY on Twitter. And again, their website is www.arnergy.com. So www.arnergy.com. LinkedIn, Instagram, you can find them and get in touch with them. So thanks again, Femi. And
thanks for having me.
All right, then take care.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.